Introduction to MS-DOS. In this presentation, we will explain the various components of a computer system, including the CPU, monitor, keyboard, and printer. We'll cover the basic DOS program commands, such as format, directory, copy, change directory, make directory, and many more. DOS is the acronym for Disk Operating System. It is an operating software. Operating software is designed to coordinate your computer system equipment and organize your computer's data and program files. The other basic type of software is called application software. These are the programs you use for spreadsheets, word processing, database, desktop publishing, and accounting. Every personal computer has some kind of disk operating system software, and every application makes use of the operating system programs. Understanding at least some DOS commands is essential for getting the most from your computer, but you don't need a whole lot to use your computer effectively. Learning DOS is somewhat a circular process. Many times, before you learn one thing about DOS, you need to know another. In this presentation, we attempt to cover DOS in a logical sequence to help avoid this problem. There are many versions of DOS in use today. Most commonly, you will find versions 2.1 through 6.2. The higher the version, the more sophisticated they get, usually by additions to accommodate the latest microcomputer hardware. Most all application programs will run with DOS versions 3.0 or higher. We are using DOS version 6.2 for this presentation. Let's begin with an overview of the various components of a computer system. The typical system consists of a monitor, keyboard, and central processing unit, or CPU, which also holds the disk drives. There are several types of disk drives. These are the devices that we will use to permanently store our program and data files. Most computers have from 1 to 3 disk drives. The computer shown here has 2 disk drives located in the front. These drives are designed to hold floppy disks or diskettes, commonly abbreviated FDD. They are usually referred to as Drive A and Drive B. This unit also has a hard disk drive, commonly abbreviated HDD, and often referred to as the C drive. You can't actually see the hard disk or C drive because it is located within the control unit and cannot be removed. On occasion, you run into a computer that has a D drive, which is usually the same hard disk, but is partitioned into 2 drive names for reasons we'll explain a little later in this presentation. There are 2 basic types of diskettes or floppy disks. For the purpose of our presentation, we will refer to them as diskettes. The diskette on the right hand is the older of the 2 designs. Most people refer to it as a 5 1/4 inch diskette. This is where the term floppy disk came from, because of the diskette's physical flexibility. If you look at the notch on the right-hand side, this is the write protect notch. If you cover this notch with a piece of tape, or with the write protection covers that came in the diskette box, you won't be able to copy or write data onto the diskette, hence write protection. This prevents you from accidentally losing data by overwriting the diskette. It would be a good idea to write protect your DOS disks now. The 5 1/4 inch diskette is sold in 2 basic types, double density and high density. The difference is in how much data each will store. Double density holds approximately 360,000 bytes of information, or 360K. K stands for kilobyte, which represents about 1,000 bytes. 1 byte equals about 1 keyboard character. High density stores about 3 times more data. High density diskettes require a special high density disk drive. Double density is the most common. The diskette on the right is referred to as a 3 1/2 inch diskette. It is a relatively new design and can hold much more data. In addition to being smaller, its cover is made of a non-flexible plastic and can hold 720,000 bytes of information. The Write Protect tab is located in the upper right-hand corner and has a switch-type design. Write Protect on and off. Like the 5 1/4 inch diskette, the 3 1/2 inch diskette comes in a high-density version requiring a high-density drive. The diskettes are loaded and unloaded into the computer system like this. Handle them with care. Never load or unload when the in-use light is on. Keep them away from heat, dirt, and water. Also, do not write any notes or labels on 5 1/4 inch diskettes with a sharp point. Now let's move on to the hard disk. The hard disk is located inside the computer itself. It is non-removable and can store large amounts of data and will retrieve data much faster than a floppy disk drive. Hard disks come in a variety of different sizes which are measured in megabytes, or meg for short. A megabyte equals 1 million bytes. 1 byte is about equal to 1 keyboard character. The most common hard disk sizes range from 80 to 500 megs, with the average unit being around 120 to 200 megs. If you are using DOS version 3.3 or earlier, and the hard disk is greater than 30 megs in size, you may find a partition of 2 divisions, drive C and drive D. The reason is because DOS versions 3.3 or earlier cannot recognize more than 32 megs of hard disk space. DOS versions 4.0 or higher can accommodate the larger size drives. Now let's look at the computer keyboard. Here are the 2 most popular styles, standard and extended. All keyboards have basically the same keys. The letters and numbers are similar to a standard typewriter. You will notice several keys that are unique to computer keyboards. The function keys, for instance, shown here. These are soft keys to speed up many processes in application programs. Each application program will assign its own purpose to these keys, hence soft or changeable keys. You will also notice a second set of number keys in a 10-key pad type configuration for easier data entry. The print screen key, sometimes used with the shift key, will print out the contents of the current computer screen on your printer, like this. Other keys, such as Control and Alt, will be covered later in this and other videos. The monitor is the most visible part of your system. There are 2 basic types, monochrome or color. The monochrome monitor has a 1-color display, usually green, amber, or white. Color monitors come in a variety of styles, CGA, EGA, VGA, and Super VGA to name the most popular. They stand for Color Graphics Adapter, Enhanced Graphics Adapter, and Video Graphics Array. The difference is in resolution. If you need excellent resolution, the VGA type monitor will suit your needs the best. Each monitor also needs its own type of graphics card in the CPU. The monitor shown here is a VGA, flat screen, in order to produce the best picture possible for this video. Another device you would probably have with your computer system is a printer. Printers come in all sizes, types, and price ranges. The most common is the dot matrix printer. It comes in 2 types, 9 and 24 pen. The 24 pen printers will have a better quality output than the 9 pen. There are 3 basic types of output from a dot matrix printer: draft, near letter quality, or NLQ, and letter quality, or LQ. Letter quality is the best appearance, but it is the slowest to print. If you need excellent quality printing, you might consider a laser printer. However, they are more expensive to purchase and to maintain. Other common accessories include a mouse. It is used primarily for use in Windows environments because of its ability to help speed your way through program menus. When in use, it substitutes for the keyboard. Modems are used to communicate with other computer systems via a telephone line. It can be a great substitute for diskettes through the mail. Before we investigate the DOS program commands, let's look further into the CPU and discuss the topic of random access memory, or RAM. Some refer to RAM simply as memory. In the simplest of terms, RAM is the temporary storage area of your program and data files. It is measured in the same units as disk drive space, kilobytes or megabytes. Most computer systems have anywhere from 2 to 4 megs of RAM. It is very important to remember that shutting down your computer system or changing programs without saving the data that's in RAM onto a permanent storage device, such as a diskette or hard drive, will result in lost data. Computer systems come in all types, sizes, styles, and prices. Most people will shop for the system configuration that best meets their needs. Our system has 4 megs of RAM, a 120 meg hard drive, VGA monitor, and 2 floppy disk drives, one 5¼ inch and one 3½ inch. Also, our system runs at a clock speed of 25 megahertz. That's a feature we haven't covered yet: speed. CPUs are available in different speeds. The faster your machine, the more work it can do, and the higher the price. The type of processor in the system is usually a good indication of approximately how fast your computer will run. The 8088 processor is found in the IBM PC or XT and compatible type computers and runs at between 4 and 10 megahertz. The newer 286, 386, 486, and Pentium processors found in the IBM AT or PS2 series and compatible computer systems runs between 12 and 66 megahertz. The higher the megahertz, the faster the machine. Disk drive access time is also a factor in computer speed. Measured in milliseconds, the faster drives will access data in about 10 milliseconds. The average speed is around 19 milliseconds. The slower drives are approximately 28 milliseconds. Now that we've talked about the hardware portion of the computer system, it's time to get into the DOS software program and its ability to organize and manipulate our permanently stored data. In order to have DOS start working for us, we must first load the program in RAM. Usually, this is as easy as turning on the computer. If you have a hard drive with the DOS program already copied on it, turn your computer on. DOS is automatically loaded into RAM. If you do not have a hard drive, place the startup DOS diskette in drive A and then turn on your computer. DOS does the rest. You may be prompted to enter in the current date and time. It is important to enter the date and time because every time you manipulate a file, it will be stamped with the current date and time. You have now completed a process known as booting your computer system. A drive prompt should now be displayed and will look like this. This means that you are now ready to enter in commands. One word of warning first. From time to time, you may have a situation where the keyboard becomes locked up and unusable. This usually happens when the wrong key combinations are executed in an application program. If this happens, don't panic. It happens even to the most experienced of computer users. One way to rectify this problem is invoking a procedure called the warm boot. Starting with power off is a cold boot. Press the Control, Alt, and Delete keys at the same time, and then release. The computer is now resetting itself. The one bad side effect here is that all data you have in RAM that was not saved to a disk will be lost. On the other hand, you had no choice because the keyboard was locked up, denying you the opportunity to save your work first. You should now have a DOS-C prompt displayed once again. We are assuming your computer has a hard drive with DOS loaded onto it. Most of this video assumes your computer system has at least a hard drive and one floppy drive. Our computer has 2 floppy and 1 hard drives. But first, let's learn how to go from one drive to another. For those with a hard drive, place any data disk in drive A. Now, with the C prompt showing, type in A:, and press Enter. Those that have two floppy disk drives can place a diskette in that drive and type in B:, and press Enter. You should now see a DOS prompt that corresponds to the drive you have just specified. Let's go back to our original drive by typing in C:, or A:, and pressing Enter. Now it's time to learn some basic DOS commands. These commands can be divided into two categories: internal and external commands. When you booted your computer system, you loaded portions of the DOS program into RAM, including the file command.com, which contains all the internal commands. These are the most common commands and can be executed from any DOS prompt in your system. External commands, on the other hand, require access to the DOS program files. The first command we need to learn is the external command format. We find it necessary to use this command now to avoid the possible accidental loss of DOS program files and have disks ready to accept data later in the video. Before we begin this exercise, you need to be in the DOS directory or have a path to the DOS directory. Type in cd/DOS and press Enter to gain access to the DOS directory. Insert a blank diskette in drive A or drive B if appropriate. We will be using a 5 1/4 inch diskette in drive A. Type format space A:, and press Enter. Now simply follow the instructions on the monitor. You should note that some diskettes are coming from the factory pre-formatted. A diskette has to be formatted before it can accept information from your computer. If the diskette you are formatting has data or programs already on it, the data will be destroyed. Be careful. Press Enter. The formatting process does take some time. If you attempt to use a diskette that has not been formatted, you will get this message. Format is one of the most common of the external commands, yet one of the most dangerous as well. As we mentioned before, if you format a diskette or the hard drive, all of your existing data, if any, will be rearranged in a way that is no longer usable. If you should ever get a warning message when using this command, stop immediately and reevaluate your process. You may be on the way to formatting your hard drive. Once completed, the computer will indicate the status of the formatting procedure and ask you whether or not you want to enter in a volume label. Press Enter for no volume label. You will then get a screen indicating how the formatting process went and whether or not you want to format another. For this video, select Y and press Enter to format a second blank diskette. Follow the instructions by inserting the second blank diskette in the drive. Keep the first formatted disk handy because we'll be using it later. Keep the disk you just formatted in drive A. If you are typing in a DOS command and want to change anything you've just typed, use the backspace key. Now that we've got that done, we can safely move on to the internal commands. CD/ is the command that will change you from one directory to another, hence the name change directory, or CD. Type in CD/ and press Enter. If you were in the DOS directory of your hard drive, this brings us back to the root or main directory. The / key is used in any command where we specify a directory or subdirectory. CD/ by itself tells DOS to change to the root directory since there was no other subdirectory specified in the command. Later in this video, we will be changing to specified directories. Don't confuse the / key with the / key. Every disk, whether it be hard or floppy, has some kind of directory system. The root directory of a disk is the main directory. When you first access a disk, you will usually find yourself in the root directory. Underneath the root directory are subdirectories that can contain program and data files. Not all disks have subdirectories, though, especially diskettes. The command dir for directory lists all of the files and immediate subdirectories on the monitor. At the DOS prompt, type in dir and press enter. What you are now seeing is a list of all the files' names, their extensions, size measured in bytes, and the data and time when the files were last saved. You may also see some names with dir written after them. This is a subdirectory name which we will cover in more detail later in this presentation. Sooner or later, you are going to be naming files yourself. There are a few rules you should be familiar with. The file name is made up of two distinct parts, the name and the extension, which are separated with a period. Not all files have an extension. The file name can be up to 8 characters. These 8 characters can be letters, numbers, and these characters. The file name extension is made up of 3 characters, preceded by a period. Most application programs will automatically add an extension to your file names. This aids in identifying to what program that a data file belongs and what type of data file it is. Later we'll show you how to use extensions to group files. Every file should have its own unique name. Don't give 2 files the same name, or you may lose one of them when you save data. Now, on to some other useful internal commands. MD, or make directory, is the command we use to create a subdirectory. We do this to help organize our program or data files into categories that are easier to remember and access. You may start off with a few easy-to-remember files, but when your files grow to this, it's time to organize them with subdirectories. Make sure your formatted disk is still in drive A, and A is your active drive. Type MD PDS and press enter. We are creating a subdirectory named PDS. The name we have chosen is arbitrary. A directory name can be up to 8 characters long and is usually named after the contents you're going to be placing in it. Now type in dir and press enter. You should see the directory name PDS followed by the dir symbol. This tells us PDS is not a file, but is a directory. Now the question is, how do we access the subdirectory? We change directories. Type cd \PDS and press enter. You are now in the PDS subdirectory. If you are not showing what is displayed on our screen, type in the DOS command prompt equals $P $G and press enter. The prompt command is a more advanced DOS command, but it displays the actual directory you are in. There. You should be displaying the name of the subdirectory. Type in dir and press enter. Notice the period and double period directories. These period directories are the codes DOS uses for changing from one directory to the next directory you specify. Our next command is the copy command, which is used to copy a file or files from one directory, subdirectory, or drive to another. A perfect example of this command is to copy a file from the hard drive to a diskette for storage in the event your original file on the hard drive becomes damaged or accidentally erased. Or maybe you want this file for use on another PC. In any event, we need some data files to copy. If you do not have any, let's create two very short files for our use using the copy-con method. Copy-con means that we are copying keystrokes from the console or keyboard. Type copy-con PDS period TXT and press Enter. Now type 1234 and press Enter. Press the F6 function key and press Enter. The monitor should say, one file copied. To create another file, type copy con 123 period TXT and press Enter. Type 5678 and press Enter. Press the F6 function key and press Enter again. Type in dir and press Enter to confirm the presence of these two files in our PDS subdirectory. Now let's copy one of these files to the root directory of the A drive. Type the command copy PDS period TXT space A colon backslash and press Enter. A colon backslash tells DOS where to copy the file. In this case, the root directory of the A drive. The copy command is a commonly used command. It is used to copy a file or files from one disk to another. Or it can be used to copy files from one directory to another on the same disk as we have done. We often copy our files for the purpose of having a second or backup copy of a file for safekeeping or for use on another computer. We also use this command for reorganizing our disk by shifting files from one directory to another. In addition to the copy command, DOS 6.0 or higher now has a move command as well. The way in which you use this command is the same as the copy command. The move feature allows you to actually move a file or files from one area to another. If we had several files to copy at one time, you might find this method inefficient. There is a way to copy more than one file at the same time. Type the command copy asterisk period txt space A colon backslash and press Enter. In this case, the asterisk is a wildcard character that represents any file name with the extension txt, and it will be copied to our designated destination, A colon backslash. DOS 6.2 has a new feature that will indicate that you are attempting to copy a file or files to an area that already has a file with the same name. This allows us to overwrite if we choose. Let's check to see that the files are actually in the root directory. Type in cd backslash and press Enter. Now type dir and press Enter. To copy the files from the A drive to the C drive, type copy space A colon backslash asterisk period asterisk space C colon backslash. We may also want to erase the duplicated files. From the A prompt, type the command erase space PDS period TXT and press Enter. Type dir to see if this file is really erased. As you can see, it is. If you ever get this message, it means the file is already gone, or you're in the wrong drive or directory. Use your drive designator letter, colon, and CD backslash commands to move to the right drive or directory. There may be times you will desire to erase all of the files within a subdirectory. This is possible using either of two different methods. The first is by using the wildcard system when erasing. The command erase asterisk period asterisk in our PDS subdirectory would accomplish the task. Or if we needed to erase just the files, the extension WK1, we would issue the command erase space asterisk period WK1. Since we have already learned the wildcard system, let's try another method. Type in DEL space PDS and press enter. A prompt appears asking you if you are sure you want to delete all the files. Press Y for yes and enter. All files in the PDS directory will now be erased. You may want to note that DOS 5.0 or higher now has an undelete command to unerase files that have been previously erased. The key to success in these cases is to invoke this command as soon as possible after erasing the file. If you continue to work and save or copy files over the area where the erased files used to be, the chances of the undelete command working is greatly reduced. To undelete an erased file in the root directory, type in undelete space PDS period TXT and press enter. Follow the instructions on the screen as we are doing here. You will be required to remember the first character of the file name you wish to undelete. To remove a directory that you no longer need, type RD for remove directory space PDS and press enter. When we look at the directory, we can see if our PDS subdirectory has been removed. If your directory still has files in it, you will get this message. You must first erase or delete these files before proceeding. After thinking about the contents of the 123 period TXT file, we realize that its name should be 5678 period TXT. We can easily rename this file by using the REN for rename command. Type REN 123 period TXT 5678 period TXT and press enter. Let's check the directory to confirm the change. Let's move on to a couple of external DOS commands. Remember, we must have access to the DOS program files to execute an external command. The first is the command label. This command is used to electronically label a disk. Type label space A colon and press enter. Let's label this disk DOS and press enter again. The label name can be up to 11 characters long. Check the directory and notice the disk now has a volume label. The next external command is disk copy. It is similar to the copy command, except that this command will copy an entire diskette, including subdirectories, to the specified destination. Like format, disk copy can be dangerous in that if the target disk has files already on it, they will be overwritten and lost. Type disk copy A colon space A colon and press enter. A is the source and target drive. As you can see, it's just a matter of following the instructions on your monitor. You should note that the disk copy command only works when you want to copy one disk to another that is identical in size. You have now completed the introduction to DOS video. After you are comfortable with these commands, there is more to learn about DOS. This information can be obtained from our More DOS video.